It's the quiet of the night, and you're listening to this story with me. Perhaps you're lying in your bed, surrounded by the stillness of the night. Wherever you are right now, this story will gently lull you into a sweet sleep. Today's story is called The Secret of the Lame Shepherd. But beware, this is no ordinary shepherd. This boy, who spends his days grazing goats in the forest, appears foolish and lame to everyone. The villagers laugh at him, children tease him, and the adults consider him worthless. But no one knows that within this lame, innocent-looking shepherd lies a secret that will change the fate of the entire village. Have you ever wondered, why is it that sometimes the weakest-looking person turns out to be the strongest? The one whom people call useless becomes the savior of all. In this story, you will find something new at every turn. The mysterious sounds of the forest, the rustling of animals lurking in the shadows. Please write your name in the comments. Perhaps the hero of the next story will be named after you. And yes, please subscribe to the channel so I can tell you such stories every night. And also, please tell me in the comments where you are listening to this story from and what time it is there right now. Now close your eyes and listen to the beginning of the story. Story begins. His name was Ramu. He was about 15 or 16 years old, thin, with an unknown depth in his eyes and the same limp that the whole village laughed at. Whenever the first rays of the sun touched the fields in the morning, he would pick up his small bamboo flute, sling his wooden stick over his shoulder, and gather his flock of goats before heading towards the forest. The village children often made fun of him. "Look, the lame shepherd has arrived." They would shout and make all sorts of noises to tease him. Ramu would just smile. Sometimes he felt sad, but he never the same calm, innocent smile remained. In fact, even his smiling seemed strange to the villagers. They thought this boy was completely foolish. He didn't understand pain, nor did he take offense at their jokes. No one thought about how many stories were hidden behind that smile. That morning too, Ramu was on his way to the forest. The dry leaves crunched under his feet. The sound of a cuckoo could be heard in the distance. As soon as he entered the forest, a cool breeze touched his face. It was as if the trees were also with him. Ramu would let the goats graze freely and sit on a nearby stone, playing his flute. The sweet melody of that flute was so beautiful that even the wind seemed to blend with it. Sometimes a deer would come closer to listen to the tune, and sometimes small birds of the forest would. Today was different. As soon as Ramu sat down on the tree trunk, he suddenly felt that the atmosphere in the forest was somewhat heavy. The usual chirping that echoed every day was absent. The branches of the trees seemed silent, and an unknown fear hung in the air. He glanced around. The goats were quietly chewing grass, but their ears were perked up, as if they were listening to something. Ramu's heart fluttered slightly. But the next moment, he took a deep breath and calmed himself. "It's probably just my imagination," he told himself. Even so, his ears were alert to every sound. He became wary when he heard a rustling in the bushes. He gripped his wooden stick tightly. Suddenly, he noticed something. His favorite goat, Gori, was nowhere to be seen. Gori was white, and a small bell was tied around her neck. The tinkling of the bell always let Ramu know where she was. But this time, there was neither the sound of the bell nor any sign of up. His eyes grew restless. "Gori! Gori!" he called out. No answer. The goats had scattered a little. His lame leg wouldn't allow him to move quickly, but he was determined. Slowly but steadily, he moved towards the bushes. A slight worry gnawed at him. Had some wild animal carried Gori away? After going a short distance, he heard a faint rustling sound from within the bushes. He carefully pushed aside a part of the bush and saw that Gori was trapped. Her horns were entangled in the bush, and she was struggling. "Oh, you silly thing, you scared me," Ramu said, breathing a sigh of relief. He bent down and slowly began to free her. A strange fear flickered in Gori's large eyes. Ramu noticed that Gori kept trying to look in the other direction of the bush, as if something was there. He turned around, and his heart leaped. Beyond the bush, a short distance away, two gleaming eyes were visible. The gleam in Ramu recognized it instantly. These were the eyes of a wild wolf. His body froze for a moment. He had a stick in his hand, but before him stood a wolf with sharp teeth. He was lame and couldn't run, and the entire flock of goats was grazing nearby. If the wolf attacked, not only Gori, but the entire flock would be in danger. The villagers said Ramu was a fool. But at that moment, a strange glint appeared in Ramus' eyes. He freed Gauri from the bush with all his might and pushed her towards the rest of the flock. The wolf was slowly advancing towards them. Its growl echoed faintly. Ramu gripped his stick tightly and stood his ground. There was no fear on his face, but a strange, determined fearlessness. "Come on if you dare," he muttered. Before him, the wolf of the forest was snarling and pawing the ground, and a lame, scrawny shepherd stood before it, holding his stick. At that moment, Ramu slowly and steadily advanced towards the wolf. His legs were weak, but there was no fear in his heart. He gripped his stick tightly. The wolf snarled, baring its teeth. For a moment, it seemed as if it would leap. Gauri and the other goats trembled. But Ramu, holding his breath, raised the flute to his lips. Yes, that very flute. Suddenly, a sweet, deep melody echoed through the forest. The tune was so enchanting, as if someone had taught the river to speak, or as if the wind had learned to sing. The wolf froze. The intensity in its eyes softened slightly. It shook its head, looking around. There was something in that melody that seemed to have quenched him. His own heart was racing. He knew it was only a matter of moments. But he played the flute even louder. Gradually, the other goats gathered around him. They seemed to feel a sense of peace. Gauri huddled close to Ramus' feet. The wolf stared, bewildered. Its ears twitched, sometimes back, sometimes forward, and then slowly it began to retreat. The deep growl was replaced by a low, almost whimpering sound. Ramu watched it intently. If it moved even a little closer, he would strike with his stick. But the animal, for some reason, stopped and then, with a single leap, disappeared into the bushes. The forest was once again enveloped in a terrifying silence. Ramu breathed a sigh of relief. But his breath was so heavy, as if he had just fought a long battle. The flute trembled in his hand. He bent down and stroked Gauri, then gathered the rest of the flock close to him. "How many times have I told you? Don't wander too far," he muttered softly. "Who's there?" he called out. No answer, only the rustling of leaves in the wind. Ramu couldn't go much further. His leg wouldn't cooperate. He gathered his flock and hurried back towards the village. By the time he reached the village, the sun was setting. The sky was filled with a reddish glow. Even on his way home, the children were still taunting him. Look, the lame shepherd is back." Ramu didn't say anything this time. The day's events kept replaying in his mind. At that moment, the village elders were sitting in the village square. He mustered his courage and said, "A wolf came to the forest today." The villagers laughed. "A wolf? Oh, you lame fellow, you're making up stories. Wolves don't come to our forest." "But I saw it. It attacked Gauri, and I chased it away myself," Ramu insisted. The villagers burst into laughter. You chased away a wolf? What can you do with your lame leg?" Ramu insisted. The villagers burst into laughter. You'll chase away the wolf? What can you do with your lame leg? Just weave your stories in your dreams." Ramu seethed inside, but his face remained calm. He knew no one would believe him. But the real pain came when boys his own age taunted him. "If our flock of goats had been left with you today, the wolves would have torn off all their hides. You don't even know what your job is." Ramu quietly took his goats and went home. His mother, an old and weary woman, was standing at the door. Seeing the exhaustion on Ramus' face, she asked, "Why, son? Was everything all right in the forest today?" Ramu hesitated. He thought of telling his mother everything. Then he thought, if the whole village doesn't believe him, why worry his mother? He simply said, "Yes, mother." Every night, as he lay on his cot, he kept remembering those eyes, the wolf's gleaming eyes, and above all, the passing of that strange, dark shadow. He kept thinking, I can somehow drive the wolf away. But what is this mystery? Sleep came late to his eyes. But deep in his heart, a resolve was forming. Even if the villagers didn't believe him, in the coming days, he would have to prove that he was their greatest protector. And perhaps, he would also have to uncover the truth about that dark shadow. The night had deepened. The village was immersed in a half-sleep, half-silence. The mud walls of the small houses gleamed faintly in the moonlight. But Ramu couldn't sleep. His cot creaked, and he tossed and turned. The same question kept recurring in his mind. Who was that shadow? Why did the wolf run away at the sight of it? For a moment, he thought it might all be his imagination. But deep down, Ramu slowly got up. His mother was fast asleep in the house. He quietly opened the door and stepped outside. The cool night air brushed against his face. Somewhere in the distance, crickets were chirping. He slowly made his way to the edge of the village. Before him stretched the same forest that had seemed like his friend during the day, but now looked terrifying. He hesitated there for a moment. His leg was still limping, and fear was churning inside him. But the voice in his heart was clear. If he didn't uncover the truth, he would forever be considered a fool, and the village would remain in danger. Ramu took a deep breath and stepped into the dark shadows of the forest. As soon as he entered, the atmosphere changed. The branches of the trees seemed to be groaning strangely. The silence was so profound that he could hear his own breathing. Suddenly, he heard the same rustling sound. It was the most terrifying moment of midnight. Then his eyes caught something. Beneath a tree, a shimmering shadow, like the figure of a human, but shrouded in a hazy mist. It was slowly moving forward. Ramus' heart pounded uncontrollably. His lips went dry. He mustered his courage and called out, "Who's there?" The shadow paused. Then, in an instant, it dissolved into the air, as if it had vanished. Ramus' ears perked up. At that moment, he heard a low growl from within the thick bushes. It wasn't a man, but an animal, or perhaps a combination of both. Suddenly, something stirred in the bushes, and a shadow darted past him like lightning. Ramu lost his balance and fell to the ground. His lame leg scraped against the dirt. It hurt, but his eyes were fixed on the retreating shadow. He ran in that direction. Behind him, Ramu followed, limping with all his might. A short distance away there, the ground was dug up. A pit filled with wet earth, and beside it, fresh tracks of sharp claws. A jolt of fear shot through Ramu. This was a wolf. But why was the shadow so human-like? His hair stood on end. Then suddenly a whispering voice echoed from behind him. "Be careful, Ramu. This forest doesn't belong only to animals." He whirled around. There was no one there. He was bewildered. That night, trembling with fear and curiosity, he slowly made his way home. He was certain that some secret lay hidden in this forest. Something more dangerous than a wolf. The morning light was slowly spreading across the village. Smoke was rising from the mud courtyards. Rotis were being baked on the hearths. Children were getting up and running towards the pond. But the atmosphere this morning was different. Ramlal's agitated voice, coming from the edge of the village, drew everyone towards the village square. "Hey, our 2 goats disappeared from near the forest last night." A murmur spread through the village. The women looked at each other in surprise. The village elders stood up and began muttering amongst themselves. Ramu was watching all this from a distance. His heart began to pound. The shadows of the night, the wolf, and that warning whisper, it all flashed before his eyes. The village headman said in a stern voice, "This is not the work of thieves. It must be some wild animal." Just then someone called out from behind, "I heard that the lame shepherd went into the forest," and all eyes turned to Ramu. A fire seemed to ignite in Ramus' chest. He stepped forward and said, "No, I didn't do anything, but I saw with my own eyes, a wolf was roaming in the forest. And perhaps there was someone else behind it." The villagers started laughing again. "Oh, the same old story. This boy is always lost in his fantasies." Ramus' face fell. But then an old man stepped forward and said, "No. I think this time it's different. I also heard strange noises from the bushes last night. Maybe the boy isn't lying." Now the villagers' faces hardened. For the first time, they truly suspected that something unusual was happening in the forest. The village headman said, "If a wolf has really come, then it's trouble for the whole village. We'll have to set up a watch." Most of the young men in the village were frightened. Their faces turned pale at the mention of a wolf. No one was. Ramu stood silently, watching everything. A deep resolve shone in his eyes. "If I remain silent today, everyone will always consider me weak," he thought to himself. He stepped forward and said in a low but firm voice, "I will stand guard." Silence fell. Then a burst of laughter erupted. You'll stand guard? Why, you're a cripple yourself. There's no one weaker than you." Ramu looked at them and simply smiled. He didn't reply. When his mother heard the news, she cried out in distress. "Son, why are you risking your life? The villagers mock you. Why would you give your life for them?" Ramu took his mother's trembling hand in his and said, "Mother, if I remain silent, this village will continue to live in fear of the animals. But if I stand up, perhaps I can save everyone." Tears welled up in his mother's eyes. She knew that her son had never been foolish, not in his mind. A strange strength had always resided in his heart. All day, the village was in a state of commotion. People were hurriedly tying up their animals in their homes. Children were reluctant to play outside. Women, frightened, sat on their doorsteps, peering out. As night fell, Ramu, with his bamboo flute in hand and a stick for support, went and sat down near the bushes at the edge of the village. The moon was half full, and its light cast long shadows across the forest. The silence was so profound that even the rustling of leaves sounded like a roar. Ramus' eyes were fixed on his surroundings. His breathing was slow. For a while, all was quiet. Then, suddenly, there was a rustling in the dry bushes nearby. Ramu gripped his stick tighter. His flute trembled in his hands. The bush rustled again, and slowly, from beyond it, out of the darkness, two gleaming eyes emerged. The same wolf's eyes. But this time they weren't alone. Behind them, another tall shadow stood, a strange, hybrid form of man and beast. Ramu felt the ground tremble beneath his feet. He knew. The danger he had sensed was now before him. And this was no ordinary wolf. This was the unveiling of a deep, ancient secret. The night had deepened. The village was asleep. But Ramu, standing at the edge of the village, was far from sleep. Before his eyes, in the darkness, the two gleaming eyes and the tall shadow behind them were clearly one. The wolf snarled, baring its teeth, and slowly stepped out from behind the bushes. Its eyes were fixed on Ramu. But the most terrifying thing was the shadow standing behind it, which had now moved a little closer. It looked almost human, but its body was half shrouded in a hazy veil. Ramu gathered his courage. He held out his stick and said, "Whoever you are, show yourself." The shadow stirred slightly. No words came from it, but a strange resonance filled the air. Then suddenly the wolf lunged. Ramu swung his stick with all his might. There was a thud. The wolf stumbled and fell a short distance away, but immediately got back on its feet. Its growl became even more ferocious. Ramus' heart was pounding. He immediately raised the flute to his lips and played a piercing melody, the same tune that had confused the wolf last time. But this time, something was different. The wolf recoiled slightly, but the mysterious shadow standing behind it suddenly raised both hands in the air, as if giving a signal. And after that signal, the wolf roared again, even louder, and lunged at Ramu. Ramu barely managed to throw himself to the side. His lame leg dragged across the ground, and pain clouded his vision. But he grabbed his stick and struck the wolf with all his might on its back. The wolf yelped and recoiled. What is all this? Questions raced through Ramus' mind. This wolf, this shadow, are they connected? The village was still sleeping peacefully. No one came to his aid. The wolf began to close in again. Its four paws were digging into the ground. Ramu, gripping his flute tightly, tried to compose himself. He slowly began to play the melody again. This time, the tune was more somber, as if he were calling out to the spirit of the forest. And then something shifted in the air. The branches of the trees began to sway. An owl hooted in the distance, and the wolf's pace slowed. Hesitation flickered in its eyes once more. But then, the dark shadow leaned close to the wolf's ear. Ramu clearly saw it, as if it were whispering some incantation. And after that, the wolf suddenly became many times more ferocious. Ramus' hair stood on end. This is no ordinary wolf. Something is controlling it. He held his breath, gripped his stick tightly, and abruptly stopped playing the flute. His eyes, "Who are you?" he shouted. There was silence for a few moments. Then a deep, heavy voice, which seemed to echo in the air, replied, "The burden I carry is beyond your understanding. You are merely a keeper of village goats, not a great warrior." Ramus' blood boiled. He gritted his teeth and replied, "Even though I am lame, if your target is my village, you will have to go through me first." There was such determination in his eyes that even the night in the forest seemed to tremble in fear. The wolf made one last lunge. This time, its attack was aimed directly at Ramus' chest. Ramu swung his stick from above and struck the wolf's body with all his might. The wolf fell to the ground with a thud. The shadow recoiled violently, as if the blow had been painful for it as well. It retreated and vanished into the air. The wolf thrashed about for a few moments, then stumbled and disappeared into the bushes. Silence fell once more. Ramu sat on the ground, his breath coming in ragged gasps. His body ached, and blood was oozing from his leg. But in his eyes, there was a mixture of astonishment and fear. It was true. Someone was controlling that wolf, and that someone was either a human being or something else hiding behind a human facade. That night, he managed to drag himself back to the village with great difficulty. His clothes were covered in dust and blood, but no one in the village believed him. Everyone was fast asleep. Ramu thought, until I bring proof, no one will believe me. But now I won't stay silent. The pain and determination in his eyes were both profound. The night's battle was over, but the real war was about to begin. This story ends here. The conflict between Ramu and the mysterious shadow, the future of the village, and the secret of the mystery hidden within Ramu. We will learn all of this in the next story. If you like this story, please subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments where you are listening from and what time it is there. Good night. Sweet dreams.